look like one of the slam poets in an extremely goofy movie. Hi, welcome to this YouTube video, which I'm filming in order to let you know that 13 Reasons Why Season 3 is done. Shocking, I know. The thing is, when the first season of 13 Reasons Why came out, I did enjoy it. I can't lie to you, I did, because it was conceptually interesting and structurally addicting. If you ignore the fact that it may or may not have literally increased suicide rates among teens due to the fact that they ignored not only the standard guidelines for portraying suicide on screen, but also the mental health professional who told Netflix not to release the show, it was entertaining. It wasn't until all the controversy started that I took a second look and thought, maybe this isn't the greatest after all. My dog is wanting attention, so she gets to be in the video for a minute. Then came season 2, which inspired countless viral tweets just detailing why you shouldn't watch it. I, however, still kind of wanted to know what happened. So despite the fact that at this point I knew what was wrong with the show, I binged it with Bailey, and I did not like it at all, to the point that I was going to make a video about it, or I at least considered it, but I was afraid of talking about such serious topics and also that people would be mad at me for watching it in the first place, so I didn't. I did rant about it in one of my comment sections though, so if you want to see what I thought of season 2 at the time, here it is. Pause to read, I guess. Now, about 2 weeks ago, they came out with season 3, and I did not intend to watch it. Entertainment-wise, I think the show was built for one season, and there's no way to escape that, and politically speaking, the best way to diminish the relevance of something is not to watch it. It seems like a lot of people are on the same page as I was, because nobody is talking about it. Some people are talking about it, but where the first season was a hugely controversial minefield, this one has come and went like the way most series seasons would. The trending articles surrounding it are less like, oh my gosh, 13 Reasons Why is destroying society, and more like 13 things you missed in the finale of 13 Reasons Why. I didn't hear anything about it until I saw this, and I thought, they didn't give a romantic arc to Monty, did they? Did they? And we will get into that, but the point is that this is what made me decide to watch season 3, because I had to know if they tried to redeem this guy. Again, we will get into that. It was upon watching season 3 though that I realized the show hadn't gone under the radar this time because it was better now, but because people just hadn't watched it and were tired of talking about it, because it is not at all better now. I would argue that season 3 is the worst season, dramatically, politically, conceptually, in about every way possible, which is why I have to ruin this little utopia we've created in which nobody is talking about 13 Reasons Why and talk about 13 Reasons Why. I physically have to talk about it. Are you posing? You can't do that. I haven't cut the other side of your face yet. I was cutting her hair and she didn't like it at all, so I really only got one side of her face and the other side is still a little rough. Actually, she is patchy all over. I'm not very good at it, but I do it anyway. Alright, where was I? So, without further ado, here are 13 reasons why season 3 of 13 Reasons Why is the worst season of 13 Reasons Why. Don't worry, that's not what I titled the video. I know that people have already done that, but like, how many reasons was I supposed to come up with if not 13? Come on. Listen, even if they had put together a really fantastic season of television and I loved it, which they didn't and I didn't, I would still fundamentally believe that this show was designed for one season. Not just because there's only one book, but because of the narrative. This universe and these characters were not built to survive outside of Hannah Baker. Lily. It's honestly weird to think back to season 1 now when there was like a plot and a concept, because they've had to pull so much so far out of left field that they've tarnished what was good about the original plot. To be fair, I think this was an even bigger problem in season 2 when they were still trying to make it about Hannah. I remember when they announced season 2, everyone was worried what the show would be like without her, and they kept saying, Hannah's story isn't over yet, and we were all thinking, maybe it is. And it was. It definitely was. The implication of season 1 was that we were seeing all of the important moments that led to Hannah's suicide, as well as the aftermath of her suicide. The only unseen parts of her story were the parts that had nothing to do with suicide. So I guess they could have shown us her childhood or something, but that's not what they did. What they did do was just make a bunch of new stuff up. I mean, you're telling me that Hannah made a whole tape detailing why Zach made her want to kill herself, but didn't mention the fact that they dated and that she lost her virginity to him? I think not. You're saying that Hannah wrote and recorded a memoir detailing everything that went wrong in her life and failed to mention the fact that her dad was having an affair. Anyway, it's not just the storyline that got butchered by seasons 2 and 3, but the bare bones format. Okay, I think my dog wants to get down. There you go, there you go. Ooh, don't whine at the door though. She's whining at the door. Remember season 1 when each episode was narrated by a tape and therefore focused on one character and their relationship to Hannah? Remember when Clay had a band-aid in the present and no band-aid in the past? Now she's whining to get in. I miss those days when the show was cohesive and it had a concept. That's the thing. Answer me this. Why, after season 1, is the show called 13 Reasons Why? There's no reasons. There's no 13. There's no why. Season 3 is a murder mystery about Bryce. They still do try to do the character-centric episode thing, but that works a whole lot less well without the tapes and without the trial like in season 2, because now, instead of Hannah or they themselves narrating their story, it's some random girl. We'll talk about her in a minute. She's telling the police who killed Bryce, but also a bunch of other random information for some reason. All she's trying to do is pin Bryce's murder on Monty, but what she does do is poetically detail the events of everyone's lives.
Everyone's a liar. If you're breathing, you're a liar. I'm a liar. No question. The truth can be dangerous. Lies are easier. Until they aren't anymore.
So just what I've learned today. Tyler Down was almost a school shooter. Tony Padilla's family was deported because of Bryce Walker's family. And my own son went to a prostitute with Bryce. What else?
Well, of course you know that Justin Foley's a drug addict.
No, I did not know that.
Imagine with me for a moment that someone from your hometown has been murdered, and you are close with the person who killed them. You are also quite fond of the victim, but let's gloss over that one. You're gonna help cover up this murder. See, you and 17 of your closest friends come up with an elaborate lie to tell the police, and it's your job to do the talking. Now, you could just go into the police station and say, hey, I have reason to believe that Monty killed Bryce. But why would you do that when you could say, it is I, the new girl. It was a rainy fall evening when I realized all my closest friends were bound together by secrets. But how could I blame them? For I too am a liar. We all are. If you're breathing, you're a liar. I don't know what accent that was. I don't know. It was half Australian and half Russian. All I have to say is, who are you? Literally, who are you? Wait a minute. Who are you? Where did she come from? Where did she go? Where did she come from, Cotton Eye Joe? All jokes aside, I think it's sad that Ani's actress was bullied off of social media. I don't have anything against the actress, but speaking strictly about the fictional character, Ani was the worst idea ever. What were they thinking? I don't say this just because her narration is annoying, which it is, but because shoving a new character down the audience's collective throat so aggressively was just obviously not gonna work out. You sit down, you get comfortable, ready to watch your favorite characters like Zach and only Zach, but then you're greeted by not Zach, but some new person. Then she gets real annoying, saying nice things about the villain of the series and mean things about the protagonist of the series, and it's kind of like, stop making all these judgments and having all these opinions about characters that I have known for longer than you've even existed or been in this universe. Who are you? Why are you here? Go away, please. I don't know how else to explain it, but if you've seen season 3, you get it. Like, we all get it. Something else annoying about Ani is that she plays a big role in the redemption of Bryce. You heard me right. 13 Reasons Why Season 3, or alternatively titled, Bryce Redemption Tour. You remember Bryce, the serial rapist? Well, he's a good guy now, and we know because he cries during yoga. And listen, before I go on my soapbox about this, I do want to clarify that in real life, I do believe that there's room for rehabilitation of ex-convicts, but that's not what 13 Reasons Why is doing. It is not that nuanced. It is much more irresponsible than it is morally gray. The show displays his growth in a simplified and unrealistic way to make a realistic point. They had something to say, but they knew people would disagree with it, so they bended the reality of their narrative and their universe, which has always, up until this point, been more focused on being realistic in order to make themselves seem right. Does that make any sense? So Bryce, who has raped not just 2 of our main characters, but apparently 6 other girls, without any previous sign of remorse or even accountability, has suddenly decided to be a good guy. This is the first problem. Because in real life, and don't tell me that this show does not need to be realistic when it prides itself on realism, what was I saying? In real life, rapists don't think they did anything wrong, especially young ones. And obviously this isn't all the time. You can find articles and stories about rapists apologizing and yada yada yada, but like generally a rapist is going to deny that he did anything or come up with an excuse as to why he was justified. If they do apologize, I imagine that that's usually in court or post-prison, but Bryce, who has yet to display any redeeming qualities until randomly this season, has not been convicted. He hasn't had any consequences, so for him to just like realize that he was wrong is kind of dumb. I guess the reason he's decided to be good is because he has a crush on Ani, but that storyline only exists as an excuse for him to be redeemed, which is an excuse for them to make a point about how social justice has gone too far. If they weren't trying to make a point about the Me Too movement, then they really made it seem like they were.
You just want to piss people off.
Yes, I fucking do. People should be pissed off. This doesn't end just because they put a fucking rapist in the ground.
My rapist. And I say we can't do this. We can't be this.
Because you want to protect your rapist, and that's messed up.
No, because there's human decency.
You're still a victim. Well, you'll know where to find the survivors on Sunday.
So, do you think that 13 Reasons Why is mad at SJWs for canceling their show and have retaliated by trying to make modern social justice seem stupid? Because I just might. Specifically this character, Audrey from Scream, seems like personification of the critique they knew they would get with this season. They knew that the audience would hear that Bryce was murdered and our first thought would be, who cares? And then they took advantage of that by putting somebody saying that in the story in order to make that seem stupid, to make you hate her and then further align yourself with Bryce. Don't get me wrong, there is room to discuss the way that modern activism can fail and step over lines, but there's something about the way they do it here that rubs me the wrong way. It feels irresponsible for a show with a primarily teen demographic to craft a storyline in which we humanize a serial rapist and vilify rape victims. It's upsetting to me because if you're a high schooler watching 13 Reasons Why for entertainment and not in order to critique it like I am, you're not necessarily thinking about it this way. You see this group, what are they called again? Hands Off Our Bodies. You see Hands Off Our Bodies protest the funeral and you think, wow, that's a horrific thing to do. Wow. I think, why did the writers decide to make them do that? If I had watched this season 5 years ago, I worry that it would have given me some misconceptions of like what's right and wrong. Like, oh, I don't know, maybe rapists aren't so bad and the real people we should be questioning are the people who are mean to rapists. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Speaking of rapists, Monty! Despite what I thought when I saw the screenshot on Twitter, he doesn't necessarily have a redemption arc. He's still mostly a bad guy, but what he does have is the repressed homosexuality arc. I've seen some people defend this trope by saying that it's actually true, that repressed homosexuality can lead to homophobia, and like fair enough for other stories, for other characters with this arc. Some of them might be justified by that explanation, you know, if they're done right. The difference with this guy, with Monty specifically, with 13 Reasons Why, is that he's not just like a bully, he's not just like casually homophobic, he's a rapist. A rapist! So now, this is not just one stereotype that homophobes are secretly gay, but two, being that gay men are predatory. So I don't want to get too much into all this because I haven't researched it that much, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that's bad. There is another redemption arc aside from Bryce though, and that's Tyler's, which honestly upsets me even more. So a mistake I think 13 Reasons Why makes a lot this season is purposefully or accidentally telling its audience that evil acts can be explained or almost justified by trauma or like a bad upbringing. I think they meant to go for more of a we're all people sort of message, but they do it one too many times. Like there's one too many redemption arcs for it to seem that small. Because the show doesn't just try to analyze why someone might be led to do an evil thing, but also kind of tries to convince you that intent to murder isn't that big of a deal as long as you have friends by your side.
Having friends is an amazing thing.
So if you don't remember, Tyler was raped and it was very graphic and sad, and then he showed up to a school dance with a gun to kill everybody. But Clay, being an idiot, decided to go try to stop him and actually did stop him. So now the whole gang is babysitting him and just hoping that he won't kill them like he intended to. And the only one who kind of seems interested in calling the police is Zach, but everybody acts like he's crazy.
Guys, we should call the cops. Do you really think that? Or is this just your chance to do what you wanted to do all along?
They're like, Zach, you can't call the police on Tyler. He's our friend. And Zach's like, he tried to kill us all. Listen up, kids. I know that 13 Reasons Why makes Tyler seem like a deserved better sort of type. I know it worked out well for everybody who tried to save him and help him. But if in real life somebody shows up to your school with a gun, call the police. You know what? 1 second. Call the police! They're disturbed. They're trying to kill you. Call the police. Even if they didn't hurt anyone, they're gonna get arrested and probably institutionalized. But like, I promise, they probably should be. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm trying to like be reasonable about this morally gray world they've set up, and I'm trying to understand this theme of change they've set up. But I think that if you've ever wanted to commit a mass murder, that you're evil forever. Am I wrong? Does that make me sound like a bad person? It's at least more than a blip in the radar, you know? It's at least more than I get by with a little help from my friends, you know? And before you say it, I wasn't okay with it in One Tree Hill either. Anyway, mix Bryce, Monty, and Tyler all together, and I guess you could say the theme is that rape and murder just aren't that bad. Okay, I'm kidding. It's more like we're all human. Who's good and who's bad? One of the episode titles is The Good Person is Indistinguishable from the Bad, so I guess that's it. I just don't like this theme. I don't like it at all, and I think that's mostly because of what the show is. There are other characters in the TV history that have done similar things and had similar redemption arcs that I haven't questioned as much. Take Jaime from Game of Thrones, who pushed a child out of a window to his assumed death in the first episode, and then like ends up like you kind of like him eventually, except for like in the last season, but we don't talk about that. But it's Game of Thrones, so... Or like when Elena started a love triangle with 2 serial killers. That was okay because they're vampires and they're like 1 billion years old, so who cares? 13 Reasons Why is supposed to be the show that starts a conversation, that is like showing the nitty-gritty side of high school. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. This show is meant to be completely grounded in reality and also supposed to make points about current society. So when they do this, when they tackle subjects like gun violence and sexual assault, and their takeaway is like, but it's okay though. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, guys. Anyway, those were all of the bigger things I take issue with, but I wanted there to be 13 things because of organization, I guess, and like because it's cooler that way. I don't know. So here are some other things. Justin is actually one of the last likable characters left, and I think his is a good example of a redemption story. But I do take issue with one thing they did with him this season. Not that he relapsed, I think that makes sense. Not that he got back with Jessica, I'm cool with that. But that in the last episode he revealed he is a sexual assault survivor. Not because he's a boy, not because I didn't see it coming, even though it was kind of weird that that's never been foreshadowed before, but because I think their motivation behind doing this was to make it seem better that him and Jessica got back together. Throughout this season, Jessica's been like, but how am I supposed to like get back with the guy who like let me get raped? And everybody's like, oh, like she can't date him because like of the rape thing. And so it almost makes me think that they were like, but if he's also been raped, then they can be together. And I don't know if that's what was going through their heads. Like, I don't know the motivation behind doing this, but that's what it felt like to me. I miss season 1 Clay. Remember when he was like just as much a protagonist as Hannah, and like the entire reason you wanted to keep watching the show was to hear his take? What happened to him, and why is seasons 2 and 3 Clay like a obsessive, like psychopath guy? Why did they do this to him? Give me back Band-Aid Clay. I want Band-Aid Clay. So I've already mentioned how silly it is that they don't turn Tyler into the police. Here are some other things. The police work, for instance. What are they doing? What are the cops up to? Ani told them that Tyler attempted a school shooting and that Alex was with a prostitute and that Tony's family was been deported and was been deported. But they don't check up on any of that. Like, shouldn't something have happened? I don't know about police. I don't know what they would do, but definitely something, right? Like, not nothing, right? Then you have the murder, which is also nonsensical. So Alex and Jessica killed Bryce, and all I have to say is, huh? I know they were trying to make it surprising, but Alex, out of everyone, had the least motive to kill Bryce. Before he shoves him in the water and stuff, he even says that he's doing it because he's hurt the people he loves.
You've hurt everyone I ever loved.
Okay, but was that not also true when you were hanging out with him a couple months ago? Like, what's suddenly given you the desire to kill him? I also think it's weird that they decided to make it like a half accident so that Jessica and Alex could still be likable. But like, they had time to jump in the water and save him. Like, they just watched him drown. So that counts as straight up murder. Sorry. And then when you think about what those two have been up to the whole season, like, watching like one of their friends get arrested for the murder of the guy they murdered, and like just going about their lives as if they didn't murder. It kind of paints them in a bad light. Remember season 1 when it was all about suicide, and then they like touched on things like rape and masculinity as build-ups to the suicide, as like part of the natural story? Well, long gone are those days. Now 13 Reasons Why knows that its main draw is the fact that it's controversial and that it's going to talk about hot button issues. So now they're like, how many can we throw at you? You thought suicide? No. Also murder. Also teenage abortion. Also drugs. Also deportation. Also, what else is there? School shootings, right. Okay. I can't handle all this. Also, how is all of this happening to the same group of friends? High school is kind of dramatic and some people have hard lives, but it is not like this. This town is cursed, okay? So all in all, that was a lot. But the main thing I think is that season 3 made it more obvious to me what was wrong with the first 2 seasons. I feel like now that I'm older, now that I have a YouTube channel where I review things and pay attention to stuff like this, I realize how much this show manipulates your emotions to like make a point, and I don't like that. I don't like the way that they can manipulate reality, because it seems kind of realistic, into making you believe things about like politics, and then that they are so often spreading dangerous messages like murder's okay. Like, I already disliked the show, but season 3 has been the nail in the coffin for me, and I am so uninterested in watching season 5. I am having kind of chaotic energy in this video. I don't know what's going on. Usually I stick to my script a little bit better than this, but I'm like, you know, not putting that in. Or maybe I did. Who knows what editing Julia's up to these days. Anyway, I think that's everything. Tall girl video coming up next. I don't know when, but that's the next one. I know it is.